There are two different ways that we can treat trauma and heal our bodies and our minds from the effects of trauma. And if you remember, one of the primary dominoes that occurs when we experience trauma is a disconnection between our head and our body. That's called dissociation. And so when we are trying to help people to heal from trauma, there's, as I mentioned, two approaches. There's a top-down approach and there's a bottom-up approach. Bottom-up approaches are better for people who have experienced more trauma. One of the reasons for that is because when people have experienced a lot of trauma, that disconnection is really strong. And those individuals have a really hard time connecting with their bodies. And so what generally happens with a bottom-up approach is we start with the body and we try to heal, connect with the body, and then move up to the mind, and in the process we heal. Generally, these bottom-up approaches are done with the help of therapists. Now, sometimes therapists recommend things like yoga, trauma healing massages, even horse riding as a way to connect with one's body. So there's a variety of different approaches that one can take. In the therapy that I've done, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, that is largely a bottom-up approach. We're connecting with the body and then we move upwards. Another approach is top-down, a top-down approach. What we do is we start with the cognitions, we move into our emotions, and then down into the feelings of our body. When we focus on our mindsets, for example, that's the way that we're going. We're starting, okay, what are my mindsets? What are the quality of my mindsets? Where do I currently stand? Where do I need to go? Okay, now let's dive into where these came about. What are the emotions that are involved here? What are some fears? What are some commitments that are involved in these mindsets? And then how does that play out in the body? And as we sift through that, that's another way of strengthening this mind-body connection. So for many people who haven't had a whole lot of trauma in their past, the top-down approach is generally enough. For people who have had a lot of trauma, it's generally best to start with a bottom-up approach and then layer on a top-down approach after that. But those are the two general ways that we treat trauma.